What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, Division Rivals? This is Steven Hyder with Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. Whoa. Let's talk for a minute, guys. We all know why y'all are here because of the thumbnail and the title of this video. So, to begin with, how much of this do I buy? A lot of it. I do buy a lot of it, but I'm not saying that this is a real possibility, man. I still think there's many leaps and hurdles to make before I can sit here and tell you guys with a straight face that the Eagles are legitimate contenders for a Deshaun Watson trade. Now, what I will say, does this feel like something the Eagles would do, guys? Yeah, this feels like a Howie Roseman move, right? I do buy an aspect of this narrative of the Eagles like the action, right? The Eagles like to be in the news cycle. They like to be mentioned, right? They like to be heard. They don't want their franchise to be forgotten about. So in that aspects, I do get it. I understand that aspects of things. But the bottom line is, guys, is we just got cap compliant. And we got to take a look at what the salary is on this, how much you would be paying this guy. And to be honest with you, if you're looking at his 2021 numbers, they're reasonable. But even for the Eagles, which it looks like to me the Eagles would be responsible for about $10.5 million, you got to come up with $10.5 million. Now, can the Eagles come up with $10.5 million? Sure, but you got to come up with $10.5 million for Deshaun Watson. Then you need to come up with another $9 million to get your draft picks, signed. Obviously, Deshaun Watson would make that easier. You probably wouldn't need $8 million anymore because you're not going to have a first-round pick. You're probably not going to have a second-round pick if you go get a Deshaun Watson. I can promise you that. It's going to come downhill and it's going to cost you money. But in theory, you're going to still need money to get your draft pick. So let's take that number and cut it in half and say we'd still need $4 to $5 million, right? Because we would be without probably wouldn't have a pick again until somewhere around 60, 70, 80 something, right? So with that said, guys, could we fit the $10.5 million if a few guys restructured? Sure. Could the Eagles go to some of the veteran guys like Lane Johnson and some of the veteran guys like, Brandon Brooks and Fletcher Cox and propose that they work their deals to create the flex cap flexibility? That's the word I'm looking for. To create the space. I'm sure they could, but it just seems like a lot of moving parts, guys. I'm just going to be honest, guys. That seems like a ton of moving parts. Look, Jason LaCanfora is the person who reported it. So clearly someone's putting it in their ear. The question is I can't tell you with a straight face that I know where the report's coming from. Is this simply coming from the agents? I don't know. But Jason LaCanfora said that he heard the murmurings at the owners' meetings and stuff like that. And that I don't think that this is a Jeffrey Lurie source. I don't think this is a Howie Roseman source. I think this is external sources around the league telling Jason LaCanfora that, hey, man, keep your eyes on this Philadelphia Eagles situation here. Yes, man, that's a huge splash. That would be a huge splash in free agency, guys. There's no doubt about it. Trading during this period to acquire a guy like Deshaun Watson, it's a major splash. I don't know, guys. It's hard to say. These things are so hard to say. Sometimes they just feel like people trying to create news cycles at times. It does, to be honest. At times it just feels like someone needs something to talk about. But, you gotta. I try to judge things like, okay, I'm not going to try to predict intention here. Let's just talk about feasibility, right? The feasibility is that the Eagles need to create a way of getting themselves to $10.5 million to even talk about him because we just don't have the cap space currently to fit him this year. I think following this year, the numbers are fine. You're paying $35 million in base in 2022, $20 million in 2023. $32 million in 24, 25. You're paying $32 million. There's potential outs following 2022 to the contract. So I don't know, guys. To me, who knows? Feasibility. A lot of moves have to happen to make it feasible. Is there a window for it to happen? Sure, but like I said, guys, you're talking about Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox. These guys have to come to the table to want to make this happen because there's no other way of creating that space. Unless they, obviously they could let a Derek Barnett go, and that's the majority of the money right there. That's $10 million of the $10.5 you need. But I would think that they'll try to kind of talk to some guys if this is a real possibility, make that happen. But let's talk about one last aspect before I jump out of here, which is if the Eagles are interested and the Eagles are willing to pay this, and the Eagles do have a top 10 pick, You got to talk about teams like the Jets. The Jets also have a top 10 pick, right? They got the number 2 overall pick. Even if we go really far, and believe me, this is a far suggestion, even if you go really far and say, well, the Eagles could also offer Jalen Hurts so they could give them a potential quarterback, well, the Jets could offer Sam Darnold, so it's kind of cyclical. The Jets also have a pretty high second rounder. So, I mean, you're putting yourself into a potential, back and forth situation to where negotiations favor the Texans in terms of getting value. I don't know if that's the smartest play. I would say beforehand, like because Deshaun Watson had a no trade clause in his contract that allows him to pick his suitors, that probably the Jets really weren't ever in consideration. But with Robert Saleh there and some of the things that are happening there, I think there's new energy and buzz around the Jets. So I don't think you can rule that out, guys. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not shocked to hear the Eagles are kind of quietly and secretly exploring this, but I don't think just because you explore potential trade options that makes something a guarantee or that you're even going at it with your full might. They might just have made some conversations, figured out, okay, I know what you're saying publicly, but what are you saying privately? What is the asking price here? Like, what is the situation? Can you guys actually resolve the situation between player and front office? Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously the Eagles can be empathetic coming out of the situation themselves with their own franchise quarterback from a draft class earlier than that, one draft class ahead of this one. So obviously there is some empathy there that the Eagles could share with the Texans, but I don't know, guys. I don't know how to chop this one up into the believability aspects of it. There's still a part of me like look, there's a part of me that would love to add Deshaun Watson. That's a no-brainer. He's a credible talent. At the same time, man, I think that the Eagles are more than one player away from competing, and the simple fact is that this roster needs to get younger, and the only way this roster gets younger is by keeping draft picks. I don't know that the smartest move is to start getting rid of first and second round picks, multiple first rounders, by the way, because I don't think you're getting Deshaun Watson for a first and a second. Like, let's be real. You're talking multiple day 1 and day 2 picks. So I don't know that this move makes the most sense in terms of the longevity of the Eagles and building that roster, but the player is phenomenal. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, these type of guys are really hard to find in the NFL. So you're weighing special player versus what it takes to construct a roster to win a Super Bowl. Some information just to judge what type of player Deshaun Watson was last season. Here's some information from Pro Football Focus on their advanced analytics guys. He was the 3rd highest graded passer. Look, he was very well regarded there in that sense. Big time throws, he had 42 on the season. It ranks really high among some of the bigger names in football, guys. His big time throw percentage was 7.4%. He took his opportunities. He took his shots. He was a vertical passer, guys. Turnover-worthy passes were 14 on the year. His turnover-worthy percent was 2%. It's pretty good. He's a very smart quarterback. We remember that from the exchange he had with the reporter where he was breaking down coverage and explaining why the guy had no clue what he was talking about. Love that clip. The depth of target, so the average depth of target for him was 9.4 yards. Pretty decent depth of target, guys. His completion percentage was 70% on the season. Not bad for a guy that was taking deep shots to still hit 70% of your passes, guys. That's a really impressive stat. His looking at things like his average time to throw, so when he can actually get the ball off, right? So we're talking about when he gets the ball off. He ranked 45th at 2.99 seconds. Just tells you the vertical elements of his offense. If we looked at his average time to throw when it comes to like actual attempts that he got off, like the actual attempts that he got off, he got 2.64 seconds. When you look at things like his on all dropbacks, completely all dropbacks, no matter what the result was, he had a 3.92 time to throw. That's what you normally see reported on things like next-gen stats. He had a 3.92 time to throw, which generally speaking is a really good measure of anything above about a 3.84 or so. That means there's definitely vertical elements to the offense, or you have a very slow processing quarterback. One of those things is going on. Normally, it's a combination of both. It's never as easy as a black and white thing, guys. There's always shades of gray there. So, time to sack, guys, 3.9 seconds. His time to scramble, 5.38 seconds. His kind of sack percentage, so like passes to sack percentage, was 21.9%. A little better than a guy like Carson Wentz. But at the same time, guys, the one thing I will give a shout out to Jalen Hurts on is when look, he definitely needs to increase his awareness of where to go with the football and pressure moments. He's got to be a better processor. He needs to play within the confines of the offense more. He just does not get sacked often, guys. I mean, even though you can say, like, well, he got sacked down the road, but when you look at his passes to sack percentage, guys, it was 17.7. Jalen Hurts is good in that regard, guys. In terms of passes over 20 yards, guys, he threw 67 attempts on the year, 33 completions, just under 50%, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. It's pretty good, guys. In terms of the highest rated passers in terms of vertical, 20 yards or more, he ranked 10th, guys. Here's how it all laid out. Aaron Rodgers was number 1. Derek Carr was number 2. Daniel Jones was number 3. Russell Wilson was number 4. Tom Brady was number 5. Then you had a tie for 6 between Ryan Tannehill and Josh Allen. 8 was Matthew Stafford. 9 was Kyler Murray. 10 was Deshaun Watson. 11 was Phillip Rivers. 12 was Dak. 13 was Justin Herbert. I filtered by at least 5 attempts, guys. You had to have at least 5 attempts for me to qualify you. That's how it laid out. So that's the type of player they would be receiving. That's a tough decision, guys. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I have the answer for that. I don't. I don't know. That's a difficult proposition to make. You got a lot of older guys already on your roster, so, I mean, money's going to already kind of start spinning a little bit here because, a lot of these guys that we're restructuring, you're taking that money and you're converting it into separate money going down the road, so eventually the cap figures are going to come realized. Most of these guys have already been paid the money. If they've converted it from base into signing bonus, they've already been paid the money, but you still owe the league because you prorated the money. That means that basically you split up the payments, so you'd still owe the league. So eventually all this stuff comes due on guys like, Fletcher Cox, on guys like, Darius Slay and Javon Hart. All these guys are going to eventually come due, guys. Just because you converted it for 1 year doesn't make the longevity go away. All right, guys, that's what I got for y'all in this video. Don't forget, if you want to support the channel, you can buy me a cup of coffee. Links in the description below. Outside of that, guys, don't forget to please like and comment on the video. That's what spikes the algorithm and pushes us out to other people. And lastly, if you're not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscription button. All right, guys, my ears are open. I'm paying attention to it, guys. I don't know what to tell you in terms of the probability here. I still think it's a little unlikely, to be quite honest, but it is weird how that one just kind of rose up last night out of nowhere. So, all right, guys, I'm out of here.